Hello, everyone. So, this lesson is all about treating phobias. Okay, so we have had a little look at where phobias come from. We had a look at the two process model and the use of classical and operant conditioning in the acquisition and the maintenance of phobias. So, now we're going to have a little look at how we can use the similar approach to actually get rid of phobias as well. Okay, so if we just take a very quick moment and just remind ourselves that the behaviorist approach says that all behavior is learned. Okay, so we are born with a blank slate, and all of the behavior that we exhibit comes from interactions with our environment. So if we bear that in mind, we can actually use that to our advantage, because if we can undo the conditioning that we've received, then we can actually reverse some of the learning that we've done, so that we actually unlearn certain behaviors rather than just keep going forward and maintaining them, which may not be great. Okay? So there are two particular forms of behavioral therapy that we're going to look at today. The first one is called systematic desensitization. So it's a therapy that is designed to reduce a response to a particular stimulus. So in terms of a phobia, the response is fear, and the stimulus is whatever you're afraid of: spiders, dogs, needles, blood, heights, flying, whatever. And it works off the classical conditioning principle, and the idea is that you learn to relax in the presence of the thing that you're afraid of. Okay, so if you learn to relax while you're in the presence of something, then actually you will learn a new response to the stimulus. That is known as counter conditioning, and leads to something called reciprocal inhibition. Okay? Reciprocal inhibition essentially means that two opposing feelings can't exist in the same space at the same time. Okay, so if you are learning to relax in the presence of a spider, let's say, relaxation and fear can't exist at the same time, and therefore the relaxation will take over the fear response. Okay, that's reciprocal inhibition and counter conditioning. Right? Now, the processes that are involved in systematic desensitization, they're not complicated, and there are three that you need to know. Okay, you've got number one, which is the anxiety hierarchy, or the hierarchy of fear. You've got relaxation, and then you've got exposure. So it's very, very simple. You start off by creating what's known as a hierarchy of fear, which means that you think of different situations relating to the thing that you're afraid of, and you rank them in order of least frightening to most frightening. So let's say somebody who has arachnophobia, they're afraid of spiders, their anxiety hierarchy might start off with them playing with a fluffy toy spider. They might then move on, and the next most frightening thing is actually thinking about a spider, a real spider, like what you can see on the picture there. They might then move on to being in the same room as a spider, followed by going to visit the insect house at the zoo, particularly the place where the spiders live. And then the most fearful thing would be to actually handle a spider. Okay, so that would be the hierarchy of fear that somebody with arachnophobia goes through. Once they've made that hierarchy, they're then given some techniques that induce relaxation. Okay? So that can be anything. You could be taught how to meditate. You could be taught relaxation exercises like breathing exercises. It could even be drug induced. not illegal drugs, but relaxing drugs, anti-stress drugs, beta blockers, benzodiazepines, whatever. Okay. So you try to induce a state. You learn how to be relaxed in certain situations, and then once you've managed to achieve that relaxed state, you are presented with the first stage in your hierarchy of fear. Okay, and the idea is that for every stage that you go through, you have to achieve relaxation in that stage. Okay, so if we just go back to our anxiety hierarchy, the person with arachnophobia would have to be in the presence of the cuddly spider and be relaxed. Okay? Once they've managed to achieve that relaxation in the presence of the cuddly spider, they can then move on and they can start to think about the real spider, the real deal, and they have to then become relaxed in the presence of that thought. And then they'd be put in a room where there's a spider on the wall, and they would have to achieve relaxation in that situation. And every time they manage to achieve the relaxation, they get to move on to the next level. Okay, so that at every level, the stimulus is being counter-conditioned until eventually they'll be at the highest level, the most fearful level, where it's actually holding the spider, and they'll be able to achieve some form of relaxation in that situation. Okay, that is systematic desensitization. Okay, so our next therapy is known as flooding, and that is not as pleasant as systematic desensitization, because flooding is essentially massive exposure therapy. So the idea is that you are exposed to the thing that you're afraid of, not in a gradual case, but actually just full-on exposure until you learn to deal with it. So it's immediate and complete exposure. There's no gradual build-up, no relaxation techniques. The sessions are often longer than with systematic desensitization, so we're talking a couple of hours, but very often you only actually need one session. And why does it work? Well, it works because of something known as extinction. That is essentially where a learned response is extinguished when the conditioned stimulus, so the spider in this sense, is encountered without the unconditioned stimulus. Okay, so it's encountered without the thing that made you afraid of the spider in the first place, whether it's the bite or whatever it was. Okay, if the two are experienced at different times, then you're likely to realize that actually the two don't go together at all, and the fear will become extinct. Okay? The conditioned stimulus will no longer produce the conditioned response. Okay, that was our very brief video on how to treat phobias. The next video will quickly go through the evaluation points for this particular topic. Okay, thank you.